And we are live. Hello, this is Maximus Confesses here with Anders Smith and the Realistic Nihilist. We're going to be refuting two shitty atheist videos, one by Matthew Steele and the other by Thunderf00t. So without any further ado, take it away, Ander.
These arguments will give us a being which is a timeless, spaceless, immaterial, uncaused, eternal, personal, enormously powerful creator of the universe who is the paradigm and locus of absolute goodness. And the arguments, if I frame them, I think, are not system dependent upon any particular theory of knowledge. I have tried to make them as broad as possible so that they would be useful to people regardless of their epistemology. I think what they do presuppose is that there are objective truths about God. If the unbeliever responds to your argument by saying, that's no evidence that God exists, just say politely, well, I guess you don't find my arguments convincing. So you must think that some of my premises are false. Which premise do you reject, and why?
All right, and that's basically the end of it. Everyone can see the text there. And yeah, who wants to say something first about this? All right, you've got.
I will say that the objection doesn't really make any sense because he wasn't, when he said he was assuming that there were objective facts about God, he wasn't saying that he was presupposing God. He was just saying that he presumes that there are objective facts and that he can just.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay, he was saying that he presumes that there are objective facts that he can discover, and those facts happen to be about God's nature, right?
Right, and
so he wasn't presupposing God. It's pretty straightforward to say, to show that this is really fucking stupid.
Yeah. For example, one of those facts could be God does not exist. That could be a coherent thing you could say about the being God. All he's essentially saying is, yeah, we can discover truths about such a concept, like whether or not such a thing exists. I brought it up in a conversation between us, and then he kind of made a shit fit about that. It was in another related video.
Yeah, I said that I thought he misspoke and meant to say just that they're objective truths, because in the context of what he was saying, he's trying to talk about how broad your epistemology can be, and so the requirements that you have to make are not, very specific. And just saying they're objective truths is pretty simple. Most people would agree on that. It's really general what epistemology you have to hold to. Is I think what he was trying to say. He could be saying that you just think that there are objective truths, as in, but you don't know which ones are true. It would be problematic if he was saying they're objective truths and they have to be, in favor of theism.
Well, he was just saying that the deductions we make conduce to theism. Like, that's all he was saying. He wasn't saying, the whole argument is that what Craig is making is that the facts that we've stipulated conduce to theism, right? Conduce to the truth of theism. So he wasn't presupposing facts about God. He was using premises to come to a conclusion, and those premises, he wants to say, conduce to theism. And if they conduce to theism, then they end up being facts about God, right?
Yeah, you're not disagreeing with me at all, though.
What's that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I wasn't disagreeing with you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah.
All right, so this guy tells me I said that it's not a requirement for the argument to work that you presuppose God, basically. Because that's what Matthew Steele's taking it to mean, is that Craig is presupposing the truths that he wants to argue for about God, which of course his arguments don't require that, at least not all of them do. And I said that they would still work without that, and he says define work. So I have to walk him through what it means for an argument to work. That's ridiculous.
It's the fucking Kalam, dude. He wasn't like, does he not understand that the premises of the Kalam cosmological argument don't imply that God exists at face value, not taken out of context with the other
Well,
premises?
see, he didn't bother to show that. He's just, when misinterpreting Craig here, and he's just going to assume that. But Craig obviously didn't mean to say that, though.
Like, the universe began to exist, right? That's not... What
Yeah.
does he mean? How does that presuppose God exists? What kind of fucking moron would make the leap from the universe had a beginning to therefore God exists, right? No. No one... That's not presupposing God in the... I mean, he's an atheist, right? Does he deny that the universe began to exist? Or does accepting that premise commit you to the presupposition that God exists? What a fucking idiot.
Yeah. I'd also throw in there in a conversation we had on a very related video. I can't seem to find it, but I said the only thing he's essentially presupposing is kind of God's coherency. Like, you could predicate things to God. So, it wasn't in this conversation, it was in another one. This conversation that's on screen was between me and some idiot before the internet. That was a conversation where I gave him primary sources of the history of some of these arguments, and he was like, well, the Wikipedia article. But aside from that, Matthew Steele said, well, the coherency of God is a pretty big presupposition.
I don't even know that he's presupposing that, because it could be objectively true about God that he doesn't exist because he's incoherent. So,
It depends on whether or not you could say... there are some people who would say that you can't really meaningfully say anything about something that's incoherent. It would be like saying exists. Well, like the first part was just noise. It doesn't really signify anything, so it could just be meaningless. But I guess that would be a discussion for another time. But even he was nitpicking that. I guess people just don't like the word presupposition because it's associated with the presuppositionalists. So I think we could partly blame them for it.
maybe. So this Matthew Steele guy points out that an argument can be valid and not be true. Building a valid argument on an unjustified assumption is an exercise in futility, but my whole point is that he's not actually doing that, though. He's not starting that God exists. Like, God damn it. Is that not obvious, though? His first premise doesn't entail God, It doesn't presuppose God.
And how exactly is it unjustified? As long as the definition makes sense, I think you could just take it away from there.
I don't think he knows what an argument is, which we'll see a lot more of that when we go to Thunderf00t's videos.
Oh, that one should be fun. Yeah, you know what? This was a short video and didn't require a lot of time to beat the shit out of.
It was not as bad as the previous ones we've covered.
That is true.
For 2 reasons. It was short, and it didn't feature Bionic Dance's face.
Yeah, that one made it a little unbearable. So, you want to kick it to the next video?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop this one a few times, though, because it's a lot longer. Has a lot more stupid things in it.
We have very good grounds for accepting the biblical worldview that the universe was created out of nothing by God at some...
Well, I guess that's a good point to stop it. He says creationist. William Lane Craig's not a creationist. Why does he call him that?
It depends on what you really mean by creationist. I mean, I would technically be a creationist because I believe God created the universe, but
That's a kind of broad definition.
Yeah, like
I think he's not like defining it there as that. I think he's putting it there to make you think, oh, he's a young Earther. He
yeah,
thinks the Earth is 6,000 fucking years old. But I mean, yeah, on the broad definition that all people who believe in God are creationists, yeah, but then it doesn't have the same force. It's not as
right.
much of an insult at that point.
Point in the finite past. I'll share a classic argument for creation and unfold some of the philosophical and scientific support for its premises. Premise one, whatever begins to exist has a cause. Things don't come into being from nothing. Two, the universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. And that would be an argument again for a transcendent creator of the universe. And then you unpack what it is to be a cause of the universe in terms of timelessness, spacelessness, immateriality, and so forth. Now, in a deductive argument like that, if the premises are true, then the conclusion follows logically and inescapably, whether you like it or not.
Ooh, logically and inescapably. Well, that's fine.
Just
Thunderfoot takes issue with that.
I saw a lot of what text coming on screen, and every time one of those popped up, I was thinking, does Thunderfoot not know what words mean? I mean, this is some bullshit to look up.
I don't think he knows what transcendent means in this context. Like, as in transcends the universe because he created the universe. Like, yeah, I don't think that he lost him at that point. But the logically and inescapably part, he doesn't know what an argument is.
That
Like, he
is
just
true.
doesn't understand how people make arguments or anything. What rules to follow.
All right, keep it going.
Fantastic, Bill. I wonder what else I can prove with this William Lane Craig style philosophy. I know. How about logically and inescapably proving that Einstein was wrong about the speed of light? Premise one, an object that is pushed forwards moves faster than it was moving. Premise two, this can of spam is an object. Therefore, it logically and inescapably follows that if this can of spam is traveling at light speed and it's pushed forwards, it will move faster than the speed of light. And therefore, Einstein was wrong about things not being able to travel faster than the speed.
God, that's a shit argument. But that's his whole point, is that he can make a shit argument with a retarded first premise that's still logically, valid, and no one would agree with it. But so fucking what? Like, you need to actually show how this is analogous to the Kalam, which he watched the video. He does not do.
And in order to push something faster than the speed of light, wouldn't that thing already have to be traveling faster than the speed of light? So it would just be an obvious case of question begging.
Yeah, I've thought about whether the argument even makes sense, and I can't wrap my head around it. But assuming it does, the first premise is just flat out wrong. But yeah, at first he looked like he was taking issue with the fact that Craig is saying his argument is logical, which is not like a big claim at all. He's just saying it's logically valid. If the premises are all true, which is the actual difficult thing to prove,
Mm-hmm.
then the conclusion follows. It's like he thinks that Craig is making a really powerful claim about his argument, but it's really just the first step in making an argument that works. It's the easiest one to do, is to make it actually logically valid. It's not a big deal at all. I mean, so many logically valid arguments could be just completely terrible. But he thinks that Craig is doing something really powerful there, where he's saying that his argument, he's making some grand assertion about his argument that he needs to support, when it's just the most obvious thing. It's just the definition of a valid deductive argument is one that, is logically, the conclusion follows from the premises.
Yeah, like this is a logical argument. All Italians are green. John is an Italian, therefore John is green. Now, of course, the first premise is obviously false, but the point of the matter is, yes, if
you could say that argument, and then you could say, if all the premises are true, then the conclusion follows logically and inescapably. And then Thunderfoot would be like, what? He would be shocked at that and fucking use scare quotes on you, like you said something ridiculous. But no, that's just true by definition. If you know what those words mean, that has to be the case.
yeah, exactly. But it's just when you get into the sadness of it. Like as soon as you go to Italy and see, oh wow, these people aren't green. Yeah,
And
the first person is obviously false.
that's the whole difficult part of making the argument, is making sure the premises are all true. So
Yeah, exactly.
Thunderfoot stops him at the logic part. Which no point does he show anything wrong with that. So yeah, I'll let him keep going.
Light, and then you unpack what transwarp spam speed must mean in terms of the only being that can move this transcendently fast must be the god Mercury.
Wait, stop. He used the term transcendently fast. I'm pretty sure he just doesn't know what that word means.
Yeah, I thought that at the beginning, but yeah, what in the fuck? And then God damn it, this pisses me off. He goes to a specific god. He goes to Mercury, like trying to imply that Craig does that, which he does not. And I got into a long comment debate with someone about this, and I might go to that because it's hilarious. And what I said in the comments is more articulate than what I'm going to say here, because I wasn't live when I was writing those. Well, I was, but see, you can get what I'm saying. I'm not going to be at a loss for what to say when I'm reading my own comments. But yeah, so he just throws up a random god Mercury, implying that Craig just says, "Oh, therefore Jesus," or therefore Christianity is true. Which of course he never does that when he's making the Kalam.
Nope, he usually just synthesizes all his arguments and says, well, since all these are held by Christianity, that shows that Christianity is that much more plausibly true. Like he makes
Well, he usually will put one that's specifically on only to Christianity, like the resurrection. Yeah. All right, I'll let him keep going now.
Wow, did I just use a verbatim William Lane Craig style logical philosophy, or whatever he calls it, to disprove one of the most robust and well-tested theories of all time? A theory of one of the greatest physicists ever. And it was so easy, so simple. Oh, go on, you tell him, Craig.
And it certainly seems to be more probably true than its negation. So when you put it in the form of a deductive argument like that, I think that it's a good argument for that conclusion. This argument is marvelously simple.
Can you stop?
It stopped.
All right. If you look at the premises, like this isn't modus ponens or modus tollens. Objects push forward move faster. A can of spam is an object. A can of spam traveling at light speed pushed forward will move faster. Like the whole. I don't understand how this argument even works. I don't know if he knows how to logic.
Yeah, it's hard to. I'm not even going to bother thinking about what he put on screen, but I hate that he's showing this on screen as Craig's talking about the Kalam, like clearly making fun of him, like Craig would. The whole point of this is to say that Craig would do this. If he wanted to disprove relativity, he would just make this kind of fucking argument and would agree with it. But of course, this is not analogous to the Kalam.
Yeah. Oh, I see. He's sneaking in faster than the speed of light in his conclusion, even though...
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I mean, you could kind of... It kind of goes without saying, though, that would apply, If you grant the first two premises, you can see how the conclusion would follow.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
That it's easy to memorize and share with another person. Moreover, this is a logically airtight argument. If the two premises are true, then the conclusion follows necessarily.
And sure, I could have used similar deductive reasoning to disprove quantum mechanics. That's the science of the very small, in a similarly airtight and necessary fashion. But there's a reason why the band's not getting ready to play, why the Nobel Prize Commission is not getting ready to roll out the red carpet. You see, there's a teensy problem with this deductive reasoning. And it goes a little something like this.
All elephants are pink. Nelly is an elephant. Therefore, Nelly is pink. Logical?
Perfectly.
You know what a human would say to that?
What?
Elephants aren't pink.
Humans do not understand logic.
Yep, that's right, Bill. If your premises are wrong, the deductions made from those premises will probably be wrong too. In science circles, it's called Geiger. Garbage in, garbage out.
He's about to science us. See, scientists know more about logic. In fact, scientists have refuted logic.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, quantum mechanics totally disproves logic. By the way, if you are such a person who makes such an argument, you're an idiot. Sorry to say.
Yeah. See, this whole time, philosophers have thought that it's okay to put garbage premises in, and you'll still get a good conclusion every time. They didn't realize this scientific principle.
Well, it's not like Craig earlier said in the video that if the premises are true. He never really said that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, thankfully, Thunderfoot doesn't go into the quantum contradiction bullshit. He uses the word like counterintuitive or something. It's not intuitive, relativity, you know.
Right.
That's okay for him to say that.
In order to understand why the Kalam cosmological argument is pointless and waving about it unknown, you need to understand why this William Lane Craig style disproof of relativity is wrong. Well, it's simple. It's taking inductive and intuitive and a seemingly valid pair of observations and assuming their universal validity, and then linearly extrapolating them to places where they fail. Sure, every object you have ever come across, when pushed forwards, does move forwards faster every single time. As Craig would say, we have good reasons to believe that it's true, and you can find the formulas in any physics textbook, and it certainly seems more probable than its negation. Every object you have ever pushed moved faster, just as every event you've ever witnessed had a cause. But only when you understand the mathematics that accurately describes motion, and not before, will you understand why not everything pushed forwards moves faster. Speed of
Okay, so he has a reason why not everything pushed moves faster, but does he have an actual reason why everything that begins to exist doesn't have a cause?
No, not really.
Like, he's saying that the problem with this spam argument is that the science, which is relativity, disagrees with it. Okay, where is your theory that disagrees with Craig's argument?
Yeah.
And there's this failure to actually explain why Craig's argument for that premise. Like, he has reasons for thinking that, you know, but people just misrepresent him and say he's just saying it's intuitive. It's just something that a child would think about the universe. It's not based on any facts. That's really annoying.
I mean, he has defended this. He has defended this in peer-reviewed literature in the philosophy of religion.
Well, he's also defended in like an 8-minute video on YouTube that anyone could or should have watched before talking about this. You should have at least listened to him speak about it. I mean, so yeah, he gives his reasons for this premise that everything that begins to exist has a cause. And I guess I'll go ahead and go into those, and hopefully I won't misrepresent any of them. He says that something can never come from nothing because nothing has no properties, you know. Like nothing. How does he put it? He in his 3 reasons why he puts it on like a PowerPoint slide. 3 reasons why, you know, this premise is true. He just says something can never come from nothing, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Part of the reasons why he says nothing has no properties is because if nothing has no properties, it wouldn't be able to distinguish what is going to come from nothing. Like, it wouldn't pick out a universe. It could pick out, like he says, it could pick out a horse or root beer or anything could just be popping into existence at any time. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
yeah, that's kind of like the skeptical response. If everything can just come into being uncaused, then you should be skeptical at every interval in time because something could just poof come into existence.
Yeah, but and it would be special pleading to say that nothing can make a universe at one point and then it just can't do anything else. Yeah, there is a problem in saying nothing can do something, though. I mean, nothing by definition, you know, it just doesn't have any powers. It has no properties. So what would it do? You'd think by definition it would do nothing, you know.
Yeah. Well, nothing. Yeah, I mean, nothing is kind of vacant to an empty set. As soon as you say an empty set is the case, or I know it might sound counterintuitive, but you could actually attribute existence to empty sets. This is allowed in set theory. However, if you were to say that there was nothing and then something, you would say that there was both something and nothing at the same time, because you would, at one hand, have a set, and then that you're saying is empty, but on the other hand, saying it has a member that just comes into it, which really doesn't make any sense as far as I can wrap my head around it.
And then Craig has his sort of scientific or empirical reasoning, which is according to every theory and every observation, that premise is confirmed. You know, nothing begins to exist without a cause. That's never been, you know, there's no disproof of that in science. So that's where this analogy Thunderfoot's making breaks down, is because he has a disproof of his shitty argument. He has relativity.
Mm-hmm.
He has no disproof of Craig's, though.
Well, I did have a point like that. I don't think I'm going out on a limb too much to say that the initial state of the universe was probably a similarly unique condition. The lesson is simple. Intuitive linear extrapolations into the very small, that's the quantum, and the very high energy, essentially the relativistic, are known to fail. Now let's take a look at the problem that Craig is trying to describe with his simplistic intuition. Oh yeah, that's right, the beginning of the universe. Pretty much the smallest and most high energy state you can think of.
God, this is so irrelevant.
I think his argument is, well, the beginning of the universe is complicated, therefore shut the fuck up, Craig.
Yeah, it's annoying. He's trying to science him.
Mm-hmm.
It's so counterintuitive, and look at all this math and stuff. Therefore, logic doesn't work. God damn it. It's counterintuitive, therefore, we just need to abandon all of our fundamental metaphysical principles.
Mm-hmm.
All of the mass and all of the energy contained in all of the 400 billion galaxies we see in our...
Do we really need to have Lawrence Krauss explain it?
Unfortunately.
Right now, he's wearing an undershirt that says 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah. I'm funny. Oh man, funny story on his first debate with Craig, not the three he saw in Australia, but in the very first debate with Craig, Craig actually said, was quoting Michael Roos, and he said, raping babies is as wrong as 2 + 2 = 5. And then when Krauss's turn was to come up, he ripped open his shirt and says, well, sometimes 2 + 2 can equal 5.
So he's also saying raping babies is okay, right?
It might be. Who knows? It's so counterintuitive.
Yeah, and of course, Krauss is a big proponent of nothing creating the universe. Well, nothing.
Air quotes, nothing.
Nothing being something, of course, because that makes more sense. So let's continue.
Our universe in a region smaller than the size of a single atom. The entire observable universe was a millionth of a billionth of a centimeter across at that time. Everything was compressed into incredibly hot.
Pop science is like woo-woo, kind of. You know, he's just trying to make it seem so amazing, and somehow this means we need to abandon reason and just go with things that don't make sense.
By the way, just as a disclaimer for everyone who's just watching this video, we should remind you guys that neither of us are William Lane Craig fanboys. I don't think either of us...
Well, that's everyone who knows anything about us knows that.
Yes, yeah, but just in case, you're an atheist. I'm a theist who doesn't even accept the argument. I think you can't even prove on principle whether or not the universe had a beginning or not. But in any case,
well, you're a B theorist. You're not going to say that in a recorded hangout, but you are.
I am a B theorist, but the universe could have a series of past eternal events, and I'm using events very loosely, or it could have just like a sharp stopping point. I think either are unprovable, and either could be the case. But in any way,
dense region.
Look, We're not coming at this.
Oh, look, there's math. There we go. I don't know what the fuck any of that shit means. I wonder if Thunderfoot knows what that means. I wonder if it's actually relevant, any of this shit on screen.
No idea.
We have precedent that intuition will serve you poorly in events that extrapolate to such singularities. Saying that
Whatever begins to exist has a cause.
is the same intuitive and inductive. You tell him, Craig.
People are so unsophisticated in their thinking. I am just appalled, honestly, when I read the stuff that's out there on the internet.
I love that quote from Greg. That is so badass.
It is so apt too,
It's like
especially
he
for the
just-
Thunderfoot video.
It's like he's looking at the comments on this fucking video right now. God damn it. We got to go to the comment section. It's a lot funnier than this. It's repetitive, but
We are going to the comment section, but you actually wrote up a very hilarious faux dialogue between Thunderfoot and Craig that I really want to read out.
when I have like 2 minutes to think of something, I can get my words out there correctly.
All right,
But yeah, we'll finish this piece of crap first.
nice.
And sophomoric
Inept and sophomoric. That's perfect.
people are.
Oh, steady, Dagger. I would have settled with just saying it's the same inept reasoning that would lead the inexperienced to erroneously believe that they have used Craig-style philosophy to disprove relativity, or to convince Davros that Nelly is pink. Look, Craig, there's a simple reason why the theory of relativity and not Craig-style deductive arguments are used to describe motion. Because one is a demonstrably accurate description of reality. In scientific terms, what we would call a theory. It can be robustly used time and time again to make accurate predictions of the unknown. While the predictions made by this pointless philosophical handwaving can be shown to be wrong. As the old axiom goes, the
What the fuck?
Well, he's obviously quoting Richard Dawkins' work, Science, It Works, Bitches, but yeah, I think that's just him trying to look cool.
Is he trying to? I mean, we know that a bad argument can make bad predictions. I don't know what point is he making here. I want to say he's trying to say, trying to take the position of scientism, which is that arguments don't matter and all that matters is science.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hilarious. On the one hand, he's posting this really complex equation, and on the other hand, he's just putting his shitty argument.
Fucking dumbass argument.
Yes, and this is what all of deduction amounts to. If you actually read a logic textbook, it can look just like the scientific equation you see on the Einsteinian side of the border. If PQ, P therefore Q. You could just throw letters in just like that. And
Is it not like, I don't want to say dishonest because that implies that he knows what he's doing, but there's something wrong with constantly putting this argument next to Craig, putting his shitty argument like where Craig is, like implying that Craig would be like, oh, that is an okay argument. I mean, we've already discussed why his argument is not comparable in the right ways. So it's unfair to put that argument with Craig.
like his conclusion doesn't even follow in the same way. Like, there is no speed of light put in the first or second premise, and he just staples it onto the conclusion.
the pudding is in the predictivity. It's the ultimate standard by which we judge good models from bad.
Wait, did he just use predictivity as the reason why this deduction doesn't work?
Yeah, not the premise being wrong, I guess, but what he's getting at, I think, is that as long as you can predict something off it, it doesn't matter. Like, logic doesn't matter. I want to just make him be saying that because I think that's funny, and that's been the theme with everyone else so far. It's this idea that science refutes logic, and he's kind of hinting at it, and I really want him to be saying that.
Oh, I really think he is, but he's just going about it all.
You think you're with Tesseract, you can get a square circle.
Exactly. It's like a more sophisticated version of Bionic Dance.
Okay, so special relativity, the faster I go, the slower time is going to go. Yes, relative to the clock left on the ground.
I've just been scienced. I don't know if I can continue. He just blew my mind with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
now we're stuck.
The further away I am from a massive object like a planet, the faster time is going to go. That's right. So which one of these is going to have the biggest effect on our time dilation experiment? The bigger effect actually occurs due to the general relativistic effect. And it said, for example, that time is actually going to run slower for somebody who's, say, standing on the surface of the Earth where there's lots of gravity, relative to, say, somebody who's floating around on a spaceship where there's hardly any gravity at all. Now, you may think that this just sounds absolutely bonkers, but for example, the satellites that control your car sat-nav wouldn't be able to work without taking relativity into account. Absolutely proved the thing. Not that it needed proving. I am categorically 230 nanoseconds older by taking that flight than I would have been if I'd stayed on the ground.
But let's
Wait. I think he's saying, well, because we're kind of this is what I'm kind of getting from his clip. Well, because our technology relies upon the premise of relativity, we're kind of committed to relativity. Well, I could just say, well, if we're committed to things beginning to exist having causes for all our shit, I guess we're committed to the conclusion.
Yeah, if anything, and Craig is trying to make this point, that principle that everything that begins to exist has a cause is more scientifically demonstrated than whatever half-baked theory you have of the universe coming into existence.
Precisely.
we didn't understand relativity, just as we don't understand the beginning of the universe. At which point, the comparison of these two arguments becomes perfectly analogous. Until you can demonstrate some accurate prediction of the unknown, everything that you do will remain pointless hand-waving about an unknown, about a gap of knowledge. And to be frank, until we have a satisfactory description of the beginning of the universe, as we have a satisfactory description of relativity.
I don't understand this. We have to have a scientific model that doesn't include God, or, well, actually, the Kalam I don't even think proves God because it just ends with a cause, but we have to have one that doesn't include a cause outside the universe, basically. Or else we're just, it doesn't work for some reason.
Although if you go back a bit and look at how he wrote at the Kalam, he said objects have causes, which wasn't even the first premise of the Kalam. You can't even write down the argument correctly.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Even such a word as appropriate of the universe will remain to be addressed by its fitting title as an unknown. And yeah, doubtless this is why Craig is here in the first place. The only place left for him to hide his God is in the gaps of human knowledge.
Everything science learns pushes God back. We used to see mystery everywhere and explain it with God, but now everything science explains, God gets smaller.
And the beginning of the universe is merely one of the last places.
Isn't God of the gaps when you feel God there, but you don't? But God is not a good explanation. Not an actual. You just put him there because there isn't another explanation.
Yeah, it's essentially I don't know, therefore God. But
it's not when you actually have an argument, a deductive argument that makes it where God has to be there. You know.
Yeah, and this is usually, and this
Can
is
I
usually
say
what
that
a lot of
he's
people.
denying logic now? Are we at the point where I can say that he's trying to say logic doesn't work?
Yes, I think we can both say that. And I really hate this shit about every argument for God is God of the gaps. I think in my first set of videos that I did on YouTube, I think Deconverted Man tried to pull that shit with me. Anyway.
He can still hope to hide his God. You see, Craig, in years gone past, folks like you would have marveled at the rainbow, saying, it says in the Bible God made the rainbow because he felt guilt pangs after an act of global genocide. How else can you explain the rainbow? I mean, let's use inescapable philosophical reasoning to prove this. Premise 1, the Bible says the rainbow exists. Premise 2, rainbows actually exist. Conclusion, therefore the Bible is true.
Wait, what? That's not even properly formulated.
I'm just going to ignore that one.
It's a fucking non sequitur.
But joking aside, look, Craig, it's simple. There's a reason why quantum mechanics, relativity, refraction, and so on were mapped out by scientists, and not by intuitive hand-waving with your brand of logically and inescapably airtight philosophical reasoning. Science it works. So I guess that puts the ball back in Craig's court. Why, given the track record of intuitive reasoning's demonstrable failure in predicting the very small and the very high energy, using that such hand-waving as an unknown commodity, that is a gap of knowledge at the beginning of the universe, if beginning is even the right term to use, which is, let's be honest, as small and high energy as you like to get, will allow you to conclude, therefore God, with any more validity than pre-Einstein, it could have been used to validly conclude that faster than light speed travel is possible. Remember, Craig, it's garbage in, garbage out.
That the way in which I know Christianity.
I don't like this clip at the end. I don't know if we need to play it. It's not really relevant.
Yeah, I mean, that's a claim of epistemology, not not a metaphysical
I
argument.
don't agree with most of the attacks on it either. That they think that he's doing like what Psi 10 does here, I guess.
Yeah. All right, now let's get to the comments.
Oh boy. Jesus Christ, this fucking... What the fuck is this person? This koala guy. For some reason it won't let me see his whole comment. Alright, but it was one of those ridiculous comments where he says, from the Kalam, Craig concludes that, God gave birth to himself and, all this Christian theology.
Yeah, except he never says that shit.
He goes on to list the rest. I don't know why it won't let me see it, but whatever.
The Kalam doesn't even say anything about God's character.
Yeah, it's fucking retarded. Where did I reply to this asshole?
Probably near the bottom. Oh, there it is.
There, I said this to him, which should have corrected him. Yeah. Kalam doesn't attempt to do that.
But that's my point. It proves
How the fuck is that your point? You just said, oh my god.
I love it.
You just said the opposite of that, but that was his point. Well, you have a fucking weird way of making points.
I love his argument. It's essentially, well, the Kalam only proves deism, therefore we can continue on not believing in any god.
So he does the logical and inescapable scare quotes again, and as we will find out, I didn't want to correct him on this until I knew for sure, but yeah, he doesn't know what logical means. He's using a colloquial definition of it that has nothing to do with philosophical arguments.
Yeah, it's the Dusty Smith notion of logic being commonsensical.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I pointed out that he uses two separate arguments. The reason why he gets to be a Christian and talk about Christianity in debates is because he has an argument for Christianity. And he talks about Christianity within the context of that argument. He doesn't do the Kalam and then say, all right, now that we prove Christianity, he has to use the argument for Christianity. He promotes the idea of resurrections, miracles, and an intervening, loving, moral God. Yeah, that's because he has an argument for Christianity. He gets to do that within the context of arguing for Christianity. He doesn't do that while he talks about the Kalam. How do you not understand this shit? I need to send this guy this video when we're done with this.
Oh, I love some of the comments which are like, why does God not have a cause?
Oh, I got plenty of those. I got those on. I left a comment, like I started my own thread here, and that's where I had that fake conversation. I guess we can look at that. But yeah, someone got me with that in there, I think. Or no, I think he got me with it here, actually. Let's see. What did I say here? Oh, yeah. He says he smuggles Jesus and the resurrection in. No, it's an argument from the resurrection. He doesn't fucking just say the resurrection happened, therefore Jesus. What the fuck? He has to prove the resurrection happened.
Oh.
God damn it.
Like he uses some kind of Bayesian shit.
Yeah.
Stuff that's really hard to get into for the sake of discussion, but Yeah, I mean, the only reason he ties that into God is by him saying, well, if God exists, then if we know God exists, then God raising Jesus from the dead becomes more likely.
Yeah,
Because yeah,
he uses his other arguments to support the argument for the resurrection because it's an argument based on probability. Um,
exactly.
so yeah, okay. I told him what a logically valid argument is, which you should never have to fucking do. You should never have to explain it to someone in this kind of discussion. You know, when that's what you're talking about is arguments for God. You should never have to tell someone what a fucking logically valid argument is.
I swear, some of the worst thing about the internet isn't the atheist movement. I actually like a lot of the atheist movement. I like Justin Schieber. That dude is awesome. I love a lot of counter apologists on here. Um, the thing that chaps my ass is all these fucking science fanboys.
You can't see, yeah, you can say that, but you can't point out a worse thing about the internet. It would be too broad because I mean, you can bring up science fanboys, but what about hipsters? What about bronies? You know, there's people comparably worse to that.
Yeah, but here's the thing: bronies, at least they know what the fuck My Little Pony is. In fact, that's what makes them so annoying. But but science fanboys don't even know anything that goes into science. Like you talk to them about the peer-reviewed process, and they're like,
Well, I gotta be honest, I hate the pop science people more.
yeah, yeah, the pop science people. Like scientists are these noble guys who are going to the lab every day to disprove. No, they're not. They get grant money and they do a job just like everyone
The
else.
only
It's
scientists they know are the ones who don't actually get anything done, though. Like they think Stephen Hawking's the best scientist in the world, you know, the smartest person ever to live. When I mean, like, look at some of the arguments he's made, though, like his argument against God or his argument for why we don't need God or whatever the fuck it is. It's retarded.
yeah.
And then they love Max Tegmark because he came up with his mathematical universe. Horse shit. He's
Uh,
not a real scientist. Max Tegmark, he's a bad philosopher. He's the worst philosopher in the world.
Funny enough, Johann Ratz loves the guy.
Yeah, but Johann Ratz even disagrees with him.
Oh wow.
Johann Ratz doesn't think the world's made out of math because he thinks it's made out of thoughts or some other fucked up shit. I mean, he's insane too, though. So
Oh yeah. Um, to, yeah. I think like the real scientists are. Oh, like I think the scientists who most matter are probably people who don't write pop science works.
yeah, obviously. I mean, Richard Dawkins counts as a scientist. He goes into other fields and fucks everything up, but he's still a scientist because he's actually written stuff and helps the field along in some sense.
I actually heard his work isn't really that. His work was only like super relevant in the '80s, and he's what he mostly does now is science popularization, which is very important, and he actually does it a whole lot better than other people. And the Selfish Gene is a pretty good work, but
That's the only work that I know of that he wrote, and that one I know is still like cited in like college textbooks and stuff.
mhm. But on the other hand, his best years are pretty much behind him. I mean, Jerry Coyne does a lot. From what I've heard, Jerry Coyne contributes a lot more
Yeah,
in terms
well,
of evolutionary
that's why he's
biology.
less well known because he does science and instead of making shitty arguments against God and stuff.
Well, he actually does make shitty arguments
Oh, I
against.
know he does. He does that too, but not as much.
He has a blog, and he's like, I'll write this blog in a book, maybe from time to time, but I'll stick to mostly the science shit.
Good God, the breaking this stuff down for people. This is what I do on the internet. I break down like really fucking basic shit for people.
It
God.
seems most of the time we have to explain what the hell people are
Well, I guess
discussing.
I finished him off. He didn't come back. He said I was being belligerent with semantics by telling him what a valid argument is. What the fuck?
Uh, I mean, I fucking hate the whole semantics charge. Oh, you're using words that are big. That's essentially what it comes down to a lot of the time.
Jesus Christ, why can I not see my whole comment? If I go to edit, I'll see it. There we go. So, this is... I guess I could read this. just a discussion. I think Craig would at some point make the point that if his premises are true, the conclusion follows. He has to say that because people don't understand that. Thunderfoot would reply by making his god-awful argument with his wrong premises. Craig would point out that he said that the premises had to be true, which of course Thunderfoot would reply, but it won't work if the premises aren't true. God damn it.
Which is essentially what he said in the video.
Yeah, that is what he said in the video. Which is in perfect agreement with Craig, who agrees if the premises aren't true, the argument's gonna fucking fail. But then Thunderfoot somehow still comes to the conclusion that Craig would buy into this stupid spam argument.
Wait, I like the comment underneath, except the premise in both arguments are false, which Thunderfoot clearly explains. No, he doesn't. He never even explains why any of the premises are false.
He spends a 10-minute video explaining absolutely nothing.
Relativity, quantum mechanics, there's math, science, not intuitive.
I could just see Craig watching this video and then leaving a comment saying, "Thank you for reaffirming what I just said."
If someone told you about relativity 300 years ago, if you were a person living 300 years ago and they told you everything about relativity, your mind would be blown. Therefore, science and God isn't real.
I really love the argument. Well, shit is complex, therefore your argument is invalid.
That should be a meme.
Not intuitive. But yeah, as I pointed out, he's not just saying it's intuitive. He gives his reasons for it. And you can disagree. I tried to present his reasons earlier in this hangout, and I didn't do a very good job of it because, I can't think very fast. But you can disagree with his reasons, but you can't say he doesn't have them. He does at least try to present reasons. I would have loved to see a video, even by a dumbass person like Thunderfoot, where he actually attempts to, go into why nothing can create something, and why we, I don't know if anyone's replied to this. I'm sure someone has. It wouldn't be Thunderfoot though. When Craig says that if nothing can make something, then that should be happening all the time, and there should be root beer all over the place, just randomly. I'd love to hear someone say why that isn't a good argument,
Well, how do you know your brain isn't going to have an aneurysm at any moment uncaused?
But no one usually critiques that. At least on YouTube's the worst place to find objections to Craig. I've been looking them up for years, and
the only one who ever did a semi-decent job, actually the person on YouTube there are two people on YouTube who I think do a really good job. No More, he does a pretty good job on it, and so does the Counter Apologist. I find them to be the most effective at actually explaining some of the problems. Other than that, there's not really much. I mean, Scott Clifton did a okay job from time to time, but
tried. I mean, I don't remember his video that well, but I know that he tried. So you got to give him that. He talked about the right stuff. He didn't just fucking use woo woo and science.
He put some effort into it.
Yeah.
He accused Craig of metaphysical cherry picking. Although he also accused Craig of a lot of dishonest behavior in discussion, and I thought that was at least kind of fair.
When he's dealing with peons, when he's dealing with people who he knows are inferior to him, he's going to be an asshole. This guy is an actor. I mean, why does he have to talk philosophy with him? I do think that was kind of rude of him, though, because Scott may not be, an actual philosopher, but he's still pretty good at it.
I mean, I've talked to Scott myself, and the dude is a really chill guy. And to be honest, some of his videos were the reason I got involved with the Great Debate community at first.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw him, and I wondered what was different about him than why none of the other atheists were anything remotely like him. I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
But a lot better, of course. So that. Wait a minute.
There it is. Everything has a beginning. Everything comes from something. Fine. So God created the universe. What came before God? Nothing, obviously.
I hate it when people do that. Like when I present an argument which isn't the Kalam, they say, "Well, if everything has a cause, then what caused God?" And I'm like, "Have you not been paying attention to a single thing that I've said so far?" Now
Well, yeah, correct
you're
is not
literally
on.
going to read off
Let,
your script
let me
again
see where.
with counter apologetics. That's what presuppositionalists do.
This is yeah.
Wait, look at this.
Personal.
Look at
Uh,
this fucking shit. I told him that Craig says everything that begins to exist has a cause. And this guy says, please tell me where he says this. I can't imagine he can actually say something like that with a straight face. Oh my god, he says that like every time he's on video.
Honestly, the Kalam argument should be the argument everybody should have in the great debate community, and they should
How is
use it to test
Craig
for
and not heard him say
who is a moron.
He always says that. You could walk up to Craig right now. Like, I don't know what he's doing right now, but you could find him and walk up to him right now. He would tell you that. He's probably saying it right now. But yeah.
He probably dreams that shit every
I
night.
wouldn't actually
Everything
I
that
wouldn't
begins
actually
to
find that
exist occurs.
unbelievable.
But yeah, if you haven't heard like the arguments and don't know what he says, like even the basic stuff, like I get if you haven't read his books, but these people don't know what he says like in YouTube videos. So what they have nothing to go on.
I bet you I bet you half of the people here, their only exposure to Craig is what they've seen on the video that we were just critiquing.
Yeah,
They
I
look at
love
the comments probably.
one of the best arguments are, well, Craig's a huge dickwad, therefore his arguments are invalid. Yeah, he might be a dick, but actually he kind of is a dick. No, he pretty much is a dick. He is a dick, but at the same time that's not good enough to actually refute the arguments.
If that were the case, then people like the realistic nihilist would all of his arguments would be just completely false.
Yeah, unfortunately he's both
Dismiss
an
him like
asshole.
that.
Unfortunately he is both an asshole and really smart, so we can't just do that.
I wish I could. I wish that was how the laws of logic worked.
You're an asshole, therefore your argument is invalid. But no,
Yeah.
no, he actually.
If you're curious, are you in the? I'm still going to call you that, by the way. Are you in the Apologetics, Reason, and Philosophy group on Facebook?
Yeah, I believe I am.
I love going to that group. It almost gives me a heart attack and makes my blood boil every time I go there. But I go there for the Craig objections, and someone will post something about William Lane Craig there, like a video or an argument he gave or some shit.
Wait, what's it called again?
Apologetics, Reason, and Philosophy, I think is what it's called.
Okay, now I have to join.
Yeah. Someone will post something about Craig, and then there will be like 200 or so comments attacking Craig, and none of them offer a specific critique of anything he said, and that really pisses me off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not.
His arguments have already been refuted. Like, okay, are you going to show me that refutation?
I always just reply to whenever someone says that this is like the most easy thing to refute. I just say, okay, then you should have no problem doing so.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm all ears. Like, just tell me. It's not that hard.
Again, every time you encounter somebody new on the internet who's into this whole "does God exist" debate, that should be the first thing you ask them. What do you think of the Kalam? And how well they do should be the litmus test for how much of a retard you think they are.
Now, if someone were to say, well, I think that I would counter premise 2 by saying that it's not actually likely that the universe did indeed have a beginning, but well, that sort of thing, then that would be much better. That would be a much better argument than, well, then what caused God?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't even accept the second premise. I do, but that's based on faith. It's not actually based on and anything I find personally convincing in science or actual infinites.
Right.
Mm.
I'm the kind of guy who doesn't actually like look at science when it comes to debating metaphysical arguments because I think that just slows it down and just brings it all to interpretation, and that just makes the argument go on for hours when I feel like I could resolve the philosophy debate just by sticking to philosophy.
Exactly. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Anyone have anything to add or anything else to say?
These 2 videos sucked.
That they did. All
Yeah, I
right.
think we're done here.
All right, cool. And the broadcast will stop. Good night, everybody.